Hey, my name is Jeremy. I'm the founder of Social Connector. We're here every Monday and Wednesday live inside of Zoom, and every Tuesday and Thursday we go live in our YouTube channel and our groups and our communities. And we are always giving you guys tips and updates on how you can do more with less, and also making sure you understand how to use the full CRM. We've got all kinds of places you can get help, but I wanted to go over tonight some of the things that are very basic, but they're actually very confusing for people. And one of the things I get lots of questions on is, how do I set up my emails to work correctly? And so I want to walk you through the process. Now, I use GoDaddy, so I want to walk you through the process tonight of how do we set up our emails to work. And I'm going to do a quick explanation of why you have to do this, and then we'll go into what it is. So in 2024, the main email providers, which for the average person is Gmail and Yahoo, they made a decision to protect their users, okay? And that was because users were getting phished and scammed from people who would get free email accounts like Jeremy726492310 at gmail.com. And then they would go and they would buy these lists, and then what they would do is they would mass send out using companies like ActiveCampaign or MailChimp or Aweber. They would use companies like that. They'd upload their thousands of lists, and then they would send out these scamming emails. And as soon as that email got blocked, they'd go do the exact same thing with a new email because they were free. So in 2024, Gmail and Yahoo got together and said, listen, we've had a policy in place for a really long time. We've never enforced it. We're going to enforce it. And what that policy states is that, and this is going to be layman's terms, if you don't use an authenticated domain, a professional domain, if you don't use that, we aren't going to let you send emails from an email provider, from a mail list, an email list provider. Social Connector is an email list provider. All right. So we allow you to send emails through our email marketing campaigns. We allow you to send emails. And when we do that, we fall into that category. So as of this year, 2024, you have to use a professional email address, and you have to use a dedicated sending domain. Okay, those are the things that are required, is you have to use them. Okay, I'm going to show you how to set those up. I'm also going to show you some cool new things that have been added in our emails, so that it's a fun way for you to see both things. So I'm going to show you how to set that up. So let me share my screen with you. If you're on the recording, you already saw my screen because I've been talking to you from that screen. Okay. So here we are inside of Social Connector, and let me go ahead and make this just a tad bit bigger. There we go. And there we go. So let's go in first and let's show you some of the cool features inside of our email drag and drop this builder. So I'm going to go into our campaigns, and this is our training updates that we send to you guys every week. So let me just use this as an example. I'll clone this one. I want to show you some new things, some new features. Some you might know of, some you might not be aware of. Okay, so here we are inside of our email builder. Now, I've just taken and cloned an email that I send out. I keep my emails pretty simple, but I've cloned one that we sent out. But I want to show you we have all these different elements here. All right, so we have text element, we have the image element, but there's one that we've added recently that I really like, and that is view this email in browser. Because sometimes when you send an email, they don't see everything that you want to. So that's a new feature that we've added. I added to the top. Some people added to the bottom. It's completely up to you, but you'll see where that is. It is right. Let me find it here. I always miss it. Oh, right here, preview URL. So you drag this over, you drop it, and there it is. It shows up. Okay. So that's one of the new ones that I like to have. So preview this email. The other thing I want to show you is the footer. Okay. Now I'm getting ready to give you guys in July is going to be all about your faceless reels. But in August, I'm going to give you a new automation to help people have subscription options. So some people want to unsubscribe from an email, but maybe they just want to unsubscribe from your newsletter and they still want to get emails from you. Or maybe you've got, maybe you're a health coach and you do recipes, but they still want to get emails on other things, but they don't want your recipes anymore. So I'm getting ready to give you that. It is a special automation that you have to build. It's not something that's just inherent. So I'm building that out to make sure it works for everybody. And when that comes, you'll still want to use this, but I'll show you the footer email. You need to make sure this is added to every single email address, every single email you send. And that's because it has this built-in default unsubscribe link. If you want your emails to get delivered in 2024, the email providers are looking for something like this in your emails. So make sure that you always add that, okay? Since we're talking about that, you'll also see we have our social icons. Now, over here on the left, we have the social icons. And I can drag them and drop them in here. And you'll notice it gives you this default. Well, sometimes we don't want to have a default. And so I don't want to build this every single time. If I drag and drop this over and then I click here, I've got to update all the information. That is just annoying. So what we've added for you is a save feature. So I can go over any one of these elements, and you're going to notice a couple things that we've added. The first thing we've added, I want to show you from right to left. The first thing we've added that's new is this little save button. If I click that save button, I can now come up to the top here and I can see all my saved items. So now once I've made an email item that I like, I can reuse this item anytime I want, and I don't have to update it anymore. Okay, so that's a cool feature that we've just added, is the save item. The other thing we've added is you'll notice that we have two options here. Now remember, the way these work are, if they're highlighted in white, not gray, as I roll over them, you see they turn gray. If they're highlighted in white, it means that they're on. But maybe you've got an element that you're sending and you want people to be able to see it only when they're on their phone, or maybe you want them to see it looks a little different depending on how you've written it, and you want to write it out. Maybe you have two columns, but when you do it on the mobile, it doesn't look very good. So you just want it to be in one column. So you could duplicate some items. So it's maybe, let's say I wanted to duplicate this and I wanted to change it up. Say, I know you're reading this from your phone right now, whatever you want to do. I can roll over this now and I can turn this off on desktop. So now when this gets sent out, they won't see this on their desktop. They'll only see it on mobile. And maybe this one is just for mobile. Excuse me, this one is just for desktop, so I turn it off on mobile. So now I can customize things based on the device that a person is watching from or reading from. This can be cool for personalizing it. This can also be great for taking and making sure that, like I said, sometimes columns, when you have two columns, they don't look really good on a mobile app. So you can change it up that way. All right, so that's another option that you have. I wanted you guys to see those. And then again, the reason this is going to matter is when I give you your new subscription, you'll still want to use this, but this link right here is going to change things. And we're going to do things a little different. So you'll want to save your footer so that you can add it to the bottom with our new update that we're going to give you. Okay, so that's our emails. I want to also show you one more thing we've added in emails, but this is not about building them. So this is about sending them. So if I click on send or schedule this email, we have lots of ways to send them. And nothing of this has changed. We can send now, we can schedule it. Most of you will never need to use a batch schedule. This is if you're sending tens of thousands of emails at a time, you won't need to do that. We have RSS schedule, which is for another training. You set up your email for who it's from. You can do a custom reply to address. This is new now. So maybe you don't want them to reply directly into Social Connector. That's your choice. You can set up a custom reply address and have it just reply to whatever that's going to be. That's totally your choice. I don't know why you would want to do that, but you can do it if you want. The subject line and then a pretext, just so you know that subject line is what they're going to see at the top. The pretext they're going to see right below. So if they're looking from their phone on like Apple Mail, it's going to start to write it out. That's what the pretext is. And then when you click on it, that goes away and you only see the actual email. You can then choose who you want to send it to. Some of this is actually a little bit new. So we can send to multiple lists at once. We can send to multiple contacts. So I can come in here and I can search for contacts and I can send to specific contacts. Or I can send to smart lists. So if I've built smart lists, I can send. So this is the one I use to send out my training updates. It's all of our active subscribers and our active affiliates. They get those. I can choose to send to multiple tags. And just remember, I can send to multiple. So if I click here and here and here, it's going to send to all of those various lists. Okay, so if I have a checkbox, I don't have to send one to each. I can send to anybody that applies. I can also do the same thing with tags. I can choose as many tags as I'd like to choose, and I can send out to those tags, okay? So that's another way we can send. But this is what's new. We've recently added track clicks. So now if you've got a link that's inside of your email, you can turn this on and it will track all the links that were actually clicked and who did the clicking. Here's why this is going to matter for you. This is really more important in links were always trackable if you used our trackable links, if you will. If you use trigger links, they were always trackable. However, as you're getting better and better at building emails, you're going to find that you put the same link in 3 or 4 spots in an email. Sometimes you say it at the very top, hey, join this training. And sometimes you say it in the middle, hey, just in case you haven't joined here, click here to join now. Sometimes you put the entire link in, and sometimes you say click here. And then at the very bottom in a PS, you'll say something like, hey, if you haven't joined us, join now. So maybe I've got it in 3 different spots. We call those in an email, those are called hot spots or hot zones. By using this track clicks, we're going to know which of those links are being clicked in an email, and you'll begin to able to know what your users are really, where it's really hot for them. And that matters. So we've just added that as well. Okay. Now I'm going to show you a final last thing. And that is you can come into any email and you can click on the 3 dots on an email, and you can click statistics on any email that you've sent. You can click statistics and you can see who has clicked, who's opened, who's unsubscribed. You can see all of it. So this was a huge open rate. 71% of people opened it. I can come down here and I can actually see who are the people that opened it. Okay. And you can do all of that. So that's another thing you can do with emails to check your reporting. You can do, and you can download all of those stats by just clicking download. Okay. Or export. So you can see all of it. But you can't do any of those things if you don't set up your emails to work. So I want to make sure you understand how your email works. I want to be really clear with you. I'm using GoDaddy. Okay. You can do this for Namecheap. You can do this for Cloudflare. You can do this for anybody. And I want you to also understand, you actually don't have to have an email address. You just have to have a dedicated sending domain. Do I recommend that? No. I actually recommend you buy an email address. I use Zoho Mail because it's $1 a month. Okay. So Zoho is my email provider, but my domain is still inside of GoDaddy. Okay. So I sign up for Zoho for $1 a month. It costs me $12 a year when I do it annually. And then they connect me through GoDaddy to my email. And I can actually have multiple domains through Zoho. That's why I do it. That's how I'm able to get my socialconnector.ai, socialconnector.ai, high rank solutions. I've got one that's called Coach Event. I've got all these different ones that I've bought, but they're all through one email company for $1 a month total. Doesn't even matter. I just have so many of them. So I like Zoho because it's cheap. Doesn't make it the easiest. It's just the cheapest. And I like that. Okay. But you still, even if you use Zoho or if you use GoDaddy, it doesn't matter who you use for your email account. You still must have a dedicated sending domain. Now I'm going to show you how to set that up. It's very simple to do. So we're going to go into settings. And this is going to do 2 things for you. The first thing it's going to do is it's going to, when you set up a dedicated sending domain, it's going to ensure that the emails that you send from Social Connector are verified for the email providers that are receiving them, such as Gmail, AOL, Apple, iCloud, and Yahoo, all MSN, all of them. Now, this doesn't mean that your emails won't sometimes go to junk. People like Hotmail and MSN, they are notorious for sending things to junk. So this doesn't ensure that. But what this does do is, number one, it does at least tell them, nope, this is a verified email address. We can trust it. Number 2 thing by setting up a dedicated sending domain is it allows Social Connector to receive your replies. So when someone replies to the email address, it actually comes right back into our system, which is really important. You actually can't do that on a lot of the mail providers that are out there right now. They'll reply and they only go back into your regular email, and it makes it very hard to track what's going on. All right. So we're in settings. We're going to go to email services. And then once we've clicked on email services, we're going to click on dedicated. Now, if you've never done this, a big pop-up is going to come up on here that's going to say, you need a dedicated domain. Either way, you either click on that pop-up that says add a dedicated domain, or you click right here, dedicated domain and IP. Unless you're sending 1 million emails a month, you don't need a dedicated IP, okay? So you just need a dedicated domain. Now you'll notice I have 2 dedicated domains. You can have up to 5 dedicated domains on here, but only one is going to be your primary at any given time. So this is my primary dedicated domain for Social Connector. And it's replies.socialconnector.ai. I'm going to pause and say the number one thing I see people do wrong is they use what's called your root domain as your dedicated domain. My root domain is socialconnector.ai. That should not be the dedicated domain for your email. You need to have something before that, which is, like in my situation, replies. Right? We call that a subdomain. You can make this as simple as LC, lead connector. It can be that simple, lc.yourdomain.whatever.com. Okay. Or maybe mine says work, or it could say reply, or it could say email. I've seen a lot of people use the term office, but you have to, when you create this, you want to use a dedicated domain that is a subdomain. Very important. Okay. So I'm going to create a new one because I can, and we're going to do just like that. We'll use lc.socialconnector.ai. Now remember, this is my root. This will become my sub. So you can't put in any, just a random domain. You can't put in socialconnector.ai. It will not work for you. Okay. So it's got to be your domain that you own. Click add and verify. And the system's going to do its best to add all of this information. If you're using GoDaddy, it's going to do its best to add this information directly into GoDaddy. It will also try and do this for Namecheap, and it will also try and do this for Cloudflare. It will not always work. In this situation, it's actually working for me. So if it works, it's going to say, oh, here's your domain provider. Will you please authorize us to add the following records? Now I can click here and add those to show those records. These are the records it's going to try and add to my Social Connector account, or excuse me, to my GoDaddy account. I'm going to click authorize the domain. It's going to open up GoDaddy and it's going to say, hey, are you sure you want to let Lead Connector do this? This is the GoDaddy symbol. This is the Lead Connector symbol. Are you sure you want to let it do this? I'm going to say yes, connect it. It's now authorizing it. It's going to take up to 48 hours. The more you've used a domain, the faster it will work, just so you know. And I'm going to go ahead and click verify domain. You'll see that one thing just popped up as verified. The other ones are still populating. So when that happens, I just click back to dedicated domains. You'll see that here is LC. I'm going to click verify now. And it's going to look at these. All of them automatically are verified. Now that they're all verified, you'll notice that one thing is missing, and that is our dmarc. And we'll talk about our dmarc now. But now that these are verified, I can click verify domain. And you see how I didn't like it? We go back again. And this is just dealing with DNS records. Sometimes they work perfectly. Sometimes they take a little work. Do it again. And I will have to do this a few times before it actually works. And that's just very common. So you'll see now we're missing one. So it's working on it. There it goes. Now they're all verified. We're so excited about it. Oh, excuse me, I messed up. Go back to dedicated domains. And it's going to take some time for the SSL security certificate to happen. Okay. Once it does, you'll see that this SSL has been issued. Let's talk about dmarc for a second. We've already, inside of our community, we have already given you, inside of the learnings tab, we have given you under our SMS and email, given you a full training on dmarc records. Okay. And you can go, look at that smile. You can walk through this entire thing, and it's going to walk you through step by step how to set up your dmarc record. Okay. And so I'm not going to go into how to set it up, but you must have a dmarc record. That is something I can't set up for you automatically. That's why we couldn't do it even in the system. You have to do it yourself. But if you follow our training, it will actually authenticate any subdomain you add from this point on. If you use the Social Connector dmarc record, which is this one right here, if you use this one, it will only work for this subdomain. But if you use what we do in the training, it will work for any domain that you add onto your, it'll work for any subdomain you add within Social Connector. But once you're completely verified, once you have everything you need, just like that, the SSL is issued, and now I can use this domain, this sending domain, for my emails. Now, why would I have multiples? There's a couple reasons. Number one, if by chance you ever spam people and you start getting complained about, what will happen is this domain, if I ever start spamming people at a high level, it's got to be a pretty high level, but let's say I'm sending out thousands upon thousands of emails and a bunch of people are telling Gmail, hey, this is spam. I don't want this. This is spam. Or let's say, God forbid, somebody gets a hold of this and they're able to send this out. Not very unlikely, but let's just say, and they start spamming people, then this domain will get blocked. However, my root domain will be safe. So all I need to do is switch to this domain and I'll be able to keep sending emails again. That's one of the reasons you might need multiples. Number two is if you want to kind of mix up which domains are being used to send out, you can come in and you can configure your domains and you can say, anytime I'm sending from a workflow, I want you to use this domain. And anytime I'm sending from a campaign, which is those emails I send out, I want you to use this domain. And this will be anytime I'm sending out a bulk email, use this. And anytime I'm sending out just normal one-on-one, I want you to use this. Again, this is for high volume. Most of you don't have high volume. Okay. Final thing you can do to make sure that you're totally working all the time is you can actually come into your, two more things. If you want to receive the emails if you want to get the emails that people reply to, not just in your Social Connector inbox, but also in your personal inbox, you can set up a forwarding address. You can actually set up multiple forwarding addresses. So now when people reply to any email I send from Social Connector, when they reply, not only will it show up in their contact information inside of Social Connector, it'll also send an email to me directly at info@socialconnector.ai. So if you have a VA or something like that, this is a great way for them to see that they got an email and then go in and respond from inside of Social Connector. You can also set the reply address to be something completely different, but please know if you do set the reply address to be different, then those emails any replies that happen will not come back into Social Connector. Okay. And finally, sorry about this. It's a lot, I know. If I come into here, I can guarantee that all of my emails are working really well by clicking this button here. So I click the three dots next to the domain that I'm using, and I click the Set Headers button. This guarantees that every email I send that originate from this domain come from this email address. That's a guarantee that I never miss it. It always comes directly from me. Okay. So there we go. And with that, that's how you set up your emails. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here and make sure that we don't have any